Brabham had a big plan for a pit stop halfway so that Piquet could build up a huge lead at the start with a light load. As Piquet led the race, Tambay led Rosberg, who was supposed to be at the back of the field but wasn't. The Brabham master plan went wrong when Piquet's fuel injection packed up after only 9 laps. That let the cunningly lurking Lauda through into first place, which he knew how to keep. Having won the British Grand Prix before, he just slotted the car into the groove in the track and dreamed of bigger and better airliners. This year the French intended to win. There were rumours of a plan to disqualify any driver who was not a French citizen driving a Renault, but this plan was upstaged by the even more unlikely plan of the Brabham team to try the halfway pit stop all over again. The Renaults plus one Ferrari led away, but were well aware, as who was not, that the Brabhams would soon go by, having left half their fuel at the pits to be collected later. The French crowd had paid good French francs to see a French car driven by a French driver in the lead on a French circuit, but would have been happier if no other cars had been appearing on the same day. This especially applied to the Brabhams, who had the nerve, on the second lap, to exploit the advantage conferred on them by the master plan of the perfidious Ecclestone. Patrese went past the Renaults first. Then Piquet went past them as well, so that by lap 5 it was 2 Brabhams, 2 Renaults, 2 Ferraris, the top turbo formation dancing team. But although Piquet probably quite liked the idea of getting past Patrese, it happened in unfortunate circumstances, with Patrese's car going very slowly, as if it wanted to do something. Yes, it wanted to burst into flames. Piquet raced on while his teammate tried to find out how far you can drive a bonfire. A perilous challenge. But taking that kind of risk is a driver's job. The same doesn't necessarily apply to the spectators, who took it with admirable calm when Baldi's arrows boosted Jochen Massa's march into the crowd upside down and on fire. The number of people killed was 0, which is about 300 or 400 fewer than it might have been. While Baldi did a flat spin through the catch fencing, Mas, further up the enclosure, unbuckled, dropped out and walked away. Back on the track, Piquet raced on towards the beckoning halfway mark, key point in Brabham's dazzling new scheme. Alas, Piquet's Brabham copycatted Patrese's and blew up. The smoke wasn't quite as dense, but he was still a long way from the famous mid-distance pit stop, which some of us were beginning to doubt we would live to see. From then on, it was a French benefit, with the 2 pretty yellow cars working perfectly, as if all concerned in the Renault team had agreed, for one day only, to put all the nuts on the right bolts. Arnoux led Prost away, but almost immediately Piquet's Brabham BMW was in amongst them, since once again the Brabham grand plan for a fast first half plus mid-race moratorium was in operation. All the Brabhams had to do was get there, and they would be rewarded by fresh fuel from the refrigerator and hot tyres from the oven. Piquet got in front of Arnoux, and the plan looked as if it might work for once, for him at least, although there was still a long way to go until half-time. For Patrese, the pit stop came early because of a cooked piston. So that left Piquet, only one man for the big plan. Piquet was approaching the first ever halfway halt for cool fuel. Nothing could go wrong. Everything had been foreseen, except the awkward presence of Salazar in the run-up to the new Mickey Mouse Ostkurve chicane. Salazar was supposed to drop back, but apparently had not read the stage directions. Piquet was calm, however. He greeted Salazar affectionately. Piquet and Salazar go to karate class together, and here was a chance to practice a few routines. This could be the high point of Salazar's career, so let's see it again. Bernie Ecclestone, plugged into the whole world by personal radio, probably heard the news from Japan. The Brabham mechanics went back to the dressing room. Tambay powered on in the lead, but the tension had evaporated. Now there would have to be another race before we could finally discover if the Brabham could go all the way half full after going halfway half empty. The O-ring did a bit of a Brands hatch at the start, with both alphas being instantly eliminated. At the normal speed of the human eyeball, it was hard to tell which bit belonged to which car. All you could be certain of was that Giacomelli and De Cesaris had played havoc with each other's no-claims bonus. While Piquet and Patrese screamed off into the distance, the Austrian television service went back for another lingering look at the mass destruction. It turned out that De Cesaris had taken immense trouble to get all the way across the track in order to ram his teammate. Why this should have been so, nobody knew. While the Alphas were being put back together so they could be thrown away, Piquet led Patrese, and the big plan was going like a military operation. Although nobody knew which military operation. It might have been Arnhem. The two Renaults were behind the two Brabhams after Tambay punctured a tyre. It was tough on Tambay. It was tougher on Alboreto, who had to walk home. Tambay got back to the pits for a new tyre and was able to go on. Patrese was now in the lead. Piquet was going backwards because of blistered tyres, so his half of the big plan misfired. But for Patrese, the magic moment had arrived. The Brabham mechanics were out of their dressing room and in position. Patrese came in for the first planned pit stop since the days when Fangio won the 1957 German Grand Prix with an extended interval for a drink and a smoke. Patrese was up on the jacks for a grand total of 14 seconds, while the cool fuel was pumped in under pressure and the crispy fried slicks Gas Mark 7 were put on with oven gloves. Then he was out again. The first successful split-raised pit pause in modern history. Was this the shape of things to come? If so, it would have to include what happened to Patrese next. He was still in the lead according to the plan, but according to the plan, Prost was supposed to fade away on those dreary old tyres that had spent half the race going around in circles instead of baking gently in the stove. But or, to put it another way, but the BT-50 blew its engine, and with locked-back wheels frisbeed towards the crowd, which the Lord in his wisdom had placed on a hill with a little grass ha-ha at ground level, just big enough to stop a racing car going sideways out of control. Patrese had a lot of luck. So did a lot of spectators, including the kind of girl who has to get into trouble before she believes that you can get pregnant standing up.